Okay.
Oh, it's going?
Yep.
All right. Ugh.
So,
We can go through some comments.
yeah, you guys have given us some comments, so we're gonna go over them. We're gonna go over them. Fuck. Okay. You got a message from Dan. Shout out Dan. Dan says, I like this. In terms of friends and how you feel about others, I think some aspects of compatibility and the level of friendship weren't touched on. When it comes to friendship that have all past experiences that are the same, for example, schools, activities / sports, hobbies, I think there are more variable. I think there are more variables other than time spent that determine the level or depth of the friendship. I think there's something to be said about your degree of vulnerability. I think, fuck, to certain people, for at least, I'll be more vulnerable with some people in the same friend group compared to others, despite spending the same amount of time with this group and all our previous experiences together being shared. Why is that? I'm not sure, but I think there's something there that can be unpacked to be revealed the different levels of friendship. Oh my God, I can't talk. The topic of compatibility, I think the way you and your partner see things matter less than you guys let on. Perhaps it's not how you see things, but the way in which you get to your response that matter more. As in, I think an optimist and a pessimist can come to a different conclusion about the same stimuli, but if their process of getting to their conclusion, they can be compatible. The opposite can happen as well. I think if two optimists get to the same conclusion, but if that process is different, there can be issues in compatibility. For me, this is compatibility. The level of similarity two people take in determining their outlook on stimulus. Someone said that they don't find someone said they don't find
Validity?
when people say, oh, we broke up because we weren't compatible. I personally feel the opposite. I think compatibility is arguably the most critical component of a romantic relationship. Really interesting ideas overall. I will be listening in the future. Thank you for the comment, Dan Burry.
Thanks, Dan. I don't know. Do you want to start or should I? This is the only comment that I actually responded to.
No. Let's see. I wrote it a little bit down. I kind of already responded to this, and I put it in the YouTube video, but I said, thanks, Dan Burry. These are pretty interesting perspectives that you have. Would you say that the degree of vulnerability is achieved based on how well you know yourself and how well the other person you're interacting with knows themselves? I feel like people that know themselves well are able to reach a deeper connection with people that also know themselves well because they've looked within and asked themselves who they really are as individuals. In a sense, I think that's vulnerability within self. Maybe that's why some people can reach deeper connection while some stay surface level.
I think what Dan was getting to, so I think Dan's comment, and let me know if I'm butchering this, Dan. This is just my interpretation. I think you kind of addressed two main topics. One being that there's more to the topics or the aspects that we outlined to depth of a friendship than, sorry, holy crap, I can't talk either. There's more to the depth of a friendship than what we outlined in our last video. That's your first point. You said, I think there's something to be said about your degree of vulnerability to certain people. I'll be more vulnerable with people, with some friends in the same group compared to others despite spending the same amount of time with the group. Why that is, I'm not sure. That's what we're not sure of either,
Yeah.
right? Like that's kind of what we're trying to address. I also wrote down some thoughts here. I think it, like vulnerability kind of comes from comfortability. Whether those are the same things or not, I mean, that's kind of up for interpretation. I'm just going to say comfort because that's the word that kind of comes to mind with me when I think of why I'm vulnerable. Or I guess I should explain that. I think that in order to be vulnerable with someone, I have to be comfortable with them. Sorry?
Like having a sense of safety. Mm-hmm. I think that would be kind of, would that be comfortable?
Yes, I think so. I wrote comfort is formed with a proven track record of acceptance / understanding and low pain. And by low pain, I mean do I have a history with this person of them hurting me in some way? Right? Like whether it's judgment or rebuttal. I also wrote that's the same way that trust is formed. So when it comes to relationships, to me, I think comfort and trust kind of go hand in hand. I'm not saying they're the same thing, but comfort, I'd say, is how much of myself can I present to this person, is what comfort is.
I think trust kind of comes after.
And trust, yeah, trust. I think trust has less to do with the relationship, and it's more with your perception of a person. Like trust, I feel like doesn't come from both people. Trust comes from one person based off of the expression of the other. So by that I mean, I can't trust you unless you show me who you are, right? But I can be comfortable with you. Sorry, I'm still kind of thinking this out. But like, for example, my comfort with you comes from how comfortable, or I don't want to say comfort to define comfort. My comfort with you comes from my ability to express myself around you. My trust of you comes from your ability to express yourself in front of me, right?
Okay.
In this specific context, I get that there's other contexts where like trust may come from me, the way I interact with you, but I think in this context, being vulnerability with another person, trust is built over time. I build trust on another person based off of the input that I've received from that person, right? So it has very much to do with them, right? Trust is the track record that you have on them. Okay, I'll just read what I wrote. So I Googled trust. I actually Googled trust versus loyalty, and it said trust is the confidence in someone's reliability and integrity built over time through consistent actions, whereas loyalty is a steadfast commitment or devotion to stand by someone or something, even in the difficult situations. So based off this definition, trust is confidence in someone's reliability and integrity built over time through their actions. Doesn't really have much to do with me, right? But I have to witness them to build that trust. Whereas comfort comes from my interactions with another person, right? So when it comes to vulnerability in friends, I think that comes from being able to be comfortable with them. Whether you can be comfortable with them comes from, do you trust them to act one way or another? Do I trust this person to receive my input and criticize me in a way that's vulnerable? Or I mean, for some people it might be, do I trust this person to accept my input and me as I am, right? I don't know for a fact, like I don't have like a hard definition or conclusion as to what makes people able to form those kind of relationships easier than with others. I do agree it must be somewhere within the vulnerability. But I guess the question is what creates vulnerability. I think when it comes to being vulnerable with certain people, it's fair to say that you can trust these people to be accepting of your vulnerability. Like that's why you're able to be vulnerable with them. And conversely, then there must be some people that you can trust to not be accepting of it. And those are the ones that you aren't vulnerable with. I think a lack of evidence / proof results in low trust. That's why we don't trust strangers, right? In the same friend groups where everyone has spent the same amount of time together, what is done in that time is what builds the evidence. Like you can spend your time with a group of people, but if people aren't really interacting within the group, then they're not spending that time building the evidence, right? That creates that trust or comfort. And so I think in a way, yes, time is a factor that affects your relationships as long, like if it's spent building evidence, like, right?
Quality time, I guess?
So yeah, quality time versus
not quality time.
Empty time.
Empty time.
So I mean, in the previous video, I did say that I don't think time is the main factor, but time is a prerequisite. You need time in order to do things to create that evidence that is used to build trust, right? I wrote, what about situations where you've spent more time with one person but feel closer / more comfortable / more vulnerable with another? And I think it's the same thing. Time spent with a person builds the evidence. Well, you need the time to build the evidence. Sometimes with one person, you'll build that evidence sooner than with another, right? And that, I think, is where that situation presents itself, where you find yourself being closer with one person than another, despite having spent less time with them. It is important to acknowledge that the lack of time spent with person B versus person A also means a lack of evidence. So thus, even though you may feel closer with this person in the moment, with more time, you'll build more evidence, and maybe your feelings on that will change, right?
Yeah.
It's also important to acknowledge that people are dynamic and can change. So person A maybe not having as much evidence doesn't mean that they'll never have that evidence, right? Your time and vulnerability with people can change. And it's disingenuous to say flat out that some people you'll just, I guess it's not just disingenuous to say that. I was going to say it's disingenuous to say some people you just click more than with others. I guess it's disingenuous to say that there's some people that you will always click more with than others, because people can change. New evidence can be built. Where that evidence comes from is actions over time. So time is important because you need time to do those actions, right? It's not always a one-to-one, because sometimes you spend time doing nothing. But those are kind of my thoughts on that. That was Dan's first point about what causes people to be closer in relationships than with others in groups.
I agree with that.
The other thing that Dan said, which I think is extremely interesting, can two people, about people being compatible versus incompatible. So he was saying that it's not the conclusion that decides compatibility, but rather it's the path taken to get to the conclusion. So Dan was saying that what two people think about something does not decide compatibility. It's how similar they are in their path to arrive at that conclusion. So he was saying, his example was an optimist and a pessimist can see something differently. But the way that they arrive at their individual conclusions, the similarity in their process of getting there, that's what defines compatibility. And I think I agree heavily. Like I never thought about it that way before.
What would be an example of that?
I think an example of that in real life would be like two people who are friends despite not having the same hobbies. Right? They don't necessarily agree on what is worth each of their individual time, because they like different things. But if they can agree on the way Dan puts it is the way that they arrive at that answer. So hold on, I'm thinking of like an example that I can describe better.
Like how about, let's say I like running and a friend likes running. Wait, did I just say that?
You just said both running, yeah.
Let's say I like working out and my friend likes running.
Yeah.
But we both
okay, sorry, go on. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Would that be kind of like an example of that?
I think there's another layer. I think it's like, I think fitness is important. I care about fitness.
But like I like working out and he likes running.
Yes. So you're both arriving at the goal of like, wait a minute.
Fitness is good. But
Because I think I'm inverting Dan's point. Because Dan said the end point is not the, I guess, yeah, the end point here is like you are in the gym. Your friend is running. But the process to get there was fitness is important to me. Right? I think that's kind of what he was saying. I think I agree with that. I think like, but I'm kind of getting confused on what is the process and what is the end point.
Maybe the end point is me going to the gym and he likes running. But our initial like thought is fitness good. Yeah.
But then maybe I guess to go further into the example, you guys would get along well because you both enjoy fitness, and that is your process to arriving at the exercise you're doing. But then let's say you meet someone that's also in the gym, but they don't like going to the gym because of they like fitness. They go to the gym because
they hate themselves.
Sure, they hate themselves or something. Maybe you don't resonate with that, and so you wouldn't be friends with that, even though you guys arrived at the same endpoint.
No, I guess that would be like the other thing he was talking about. I don't remember the word specifically, but something about being incompatible through.
Your response to stimuli?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly? Response to stimuli?
Stimuli is just like things that stimulate you, like things that you feel, I guess. I think I'm butchering that definition, but it's essentially that in this context. And then, yeah, Dan is saying when two people respond to stimuli in similar ways, that's what creates compatibility. Not necessarily the conclusion that they arrive at, but like, for example, we get into a car crash and I start screaming and you're like, okay, no, we need to, be calm, like get this figured out, make sure everyone's safe. But, like those are two different responses to the same stimuli.
And the stimuli being the car crash?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So I think, yeah, pretty much what like overall Dan is saying, when it comes to compatibility, two opposites can be compatible. But they're opposite in their conclusions, not necessarily the process. It's the similarities in their process that create compatibility. And I think I agree. I think that's why you see people in relationships that aren't the same person.
They polar opposites.
Like I'm not the same person as my partner. And that's not to say that our differences in conclusions make us incompatible. Right? I think there is definitely something here to say about the process being the mark of compatibility. I never thought about it like that. Like I tend to think about things as the endpoints. But even if I just look at like my own life, like that's not necessarily the case every time. I don't know. I think we need more thinking on this.
Yeah.
But we can talk about this like next episode too. Like I think this is something really interesting here. You want to move next comment?
Sure. Okay. I have a friend that watched some of our videos, and he said he feels like your takes are nonsensical. The first example being, I'll just read it like as is. The first example I think of is the question about defining greed, which is highly subjective in a sense, but the question aims to actually define it. But his answer in the end was wanting more than you already have. But what is it that you actually have? Like he took the already subjective question and made it even more abstract. Is it greed to want a bigger house or a nicer car when I live in an apartment and drive a 2007 4Runner? That is oddly specific. Maybe some would argue yes, but largely people would say no.
I'm going to use his example because that's what you brought up. I still do think that's greedy to want a bigger house and a newer car, despite having a house that works and a car that works. Maybe there's more to unpack there. Like if your current house and your current car are bringing you discomfort or pain in some way, then it's not like. I think you have to get into the intent of the want. I want this because it makes my life better. I don't think that's greedy. I think that's more like a survival instinct in a way. I think greedy would be like, I want a bigger house when your house is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You just want more house. I think my point was greed is wanting more than you have when what you have is good.
Maybe I clipped it in a way that sounded bad.
Maybe.
But
I don't know. But yeah, I guess to reiterate that's kind of more what I was getting at.
I think it depends on like your wants and needs. A lot of the wants are just, I think when it becomes a want, that's when it becomes greed. But when it's a need, I feel like I'm going on a tangent here. I don't know if this is really like ambition anymore.
I think it's kind of important here to define the context of whatever situation we're talking about. Because like his example with the small house, like the house and the car, again, isolated, I want a bigger house and a better car when I have this. That's not really telling me much. Like why do you want that bigger house? Why do you want that other car? I think the context of that will define whether it's greed or just want. Or like I don't know what the opposite of greed in this case would be, because want feels like, without context, it feels empty. But I think why you want those things is what answers the question. And again, like my stance on greed is that it's when you want something despite not like needing it. Given context, like if you need this thing to achieve XYZ, then in that context, that is a need, right? I'm not saying like, oh, you shouldn't achieve for a better job because you have one that pays you money. It's like, oh, if you're not living the life that you want to live, and you need XYZ to achieve it, that's not greed. Like do that. Like that's you need it in order to accomplish blah blah blah. Greed is more like saying, I have $15 billion. I want 15 billion more, but you don't even use your $15 billion on anything. Like it's just, you know what I mean?
I think
I don't know.
for me, I think if I were greedy, I would have bought another car, but I think the car I have right now is perfectly fine, and that's why I haven't done that switch, because I feel like, would that necessarily be greed? I don't think that would be greed now that I think about it.
I don't know. Why are you buying more cars? Just to have more cars?
I think if you want to buy a new car just to have another car.
Ooh, you know what? This is a good question. 'Cause I'm starting to think harder now.
Okay.
Maybe greed. I think a better definition of greed is wanting for the sake of others not having.
In what way? Like people that flex, like all their cars and all that.
I want this thing so that I can say that I have it and you can't.
I think you also say like you want this thing, so nobody else can have it too. I think that's greed.
So I guess in a sentence, greed is,
The main question was at what point is ambition greed?
yeah.
So I guess when you
Well, his question, I guess what he was addressing here is that the definition of greed was incomplete or
yeah.
sub-satisfactory. So I guess, just rethinking definition of greed. I think greed is, like ambition becomes greedy when it's wanting for the sake of other people not having, or when it becomes derivative of something like that. Which I think begs the question, can you be greedy in your ambitions?
Yeah, I think you could.
Yeah. The example that comes up to me is, like, let's say there's a ranking for whatever it is that you're doing, and you're number 2. Like, I want to be number 1 because...
Would be better than everybody.
Yeah.
What would be a good example?
Endeavor and All Might. You watch My Hero?
No.
Oh, never mind. Mr. Krabs and Plankton. Wait, but they're both greedy.
Yeah.
That's a bad example. We need to do more research on this kind of stuff.
Yeah. The other one was the sacrifice to become exceptional. He thinks it's foolish. To start, he says that by nature, I'm just reading what he says exactly. To start, he says that by the nature of being exceptional, you will be alone. Like, yes, maybe by definition. But that's also in comparison to the average person, not necessarily the person you surround yourself with. You can be an exceptional individual that works with an exceptional team, for example. It implies you have more knowledge and drive that anyone else's input is just irrelevant. Where does mentorship come in? I say this as someone that works at a workplace, and I look at the leaders, and they are surrounded by all the best guys, and everyone at the top is genuinely exceptional. Like, they're actually unreal at their jobs, and they certainly did not get there alone. And to think that the only way to achieve that is per this nature of being alone is just naive. Like, I'm talking these guys have qualities that you more or less can't teach, or like you can try as hard as you can and always fall short to them, because they're really good at that. And without mentorship, you would genuinely never reach that point.
How did they reach that point then? If you can't teach it, and you can achieve and you can strive and you'll never reach their point. How did they get there? Like, I'm not trying to like argue. I'm just trying to understand here. But your point is that they're exceptional and that there's a group of them and that you see yourself being able to use them as mentors. But you're also saying that you're never going to be able to catch up to them because you can't teach what they have. I'm not, okay, maybe I'm hanging up on just semantics. I think the main point that was trying to be addressed here is
To be exceptional, maybe you don't have to do it alone.
yeah, there's always someone you can learn on. And I do agree. But like you said, what about, you said your perspective is from a workplace and you look at the leaders. In a workplace, you have leaders. If your interests diverge from the people around you, who do you look to? Do you discard the people around you? Going and searching for people who do know more than you, I completely agree. That is a way to do things. Maybe I should have been clearer in the context of the situation. I don't want to abandon the people around me. I don't want to leave the people around me. I think that's what I was kind of talking about, the loneliness of whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Sometimes your interests diverge, but sometimes you still like the people that are around you. And yes, I agree. There are people that you can definitely learn from and gain mentorship from. But I think it might be a little bit naive to say that you can always gain these new people while maintaining the old. I'm not sure. I might have to think on this a little bit more. But do you understand what I'm saying?
This wouldn't be in a workplace, would it? Sense?
Well, he brought up the workplace. I'm just thinking more generally, like that's not the only setting where you might be alone in what you want to do. Mm-hmm. In a workplace, I don't think you'd be alone in what you want to do. Like everyone at the workplace is working for the same company, doing the same goal. Mm-hmm. What happens if you really like riding horses and none of your friends or people around you like riding horses? You stop hanging out with them to go find people who like riding horses. They're still your friends, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I'm getting at. And I say I want to be exceptional at the things that I'm interested in. Maybe, my friends might not be interested in those things. There's nothing wrong with that, but if I want to be exceptional at that, I kind of have to do it alone, right? That's not their thing, right? I don't know. I'll think more on it because I see what you're saying, and I do agree. Like mentorship is definitely something that I didn't account for, but I'm not sure if it applies to the situations that I'm talking about.
Doesn't necessarily have to be. You also mentioned that if you're actively seeking those people, then you end up with nothing. But I don't think that's true either. There's not really much after that.
I think you can actively seek and, kind of achieve your goals. That is a possibility. I guess what I was trying to get at was, at what point does seeking those people out become counterproductive? Right? If you spend all of your time looking for a coach instead of training, which is more worth your time? Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that? I think...
Not really. This is more
in a workplace setting, I completely agree. These things stick out more. Mm-hmm. That's not I'm not trying to say that your point is wrong or anything. We might be talking about different contexts.
I think with the videos I put out, it kind of seemed like there was not all of the detail in it. So they're kind of just...
maybe.
Yeah.
That's kind of our fault.
Yeah. And also,
I don't want to assert that your opinion here is wrong or anything, because maybe I'm not understanding completely what you're saying. But right now, from the way I'm thinking of the way that I was thinking about it in that video, I'm not really understanding the full picture here. He says that I was saying that the people around me, their input is not useful. I'm not trying to say that their input is useless or anything, flat out. But it's like, let's say you have a restaurant. Is the cook going to ask the receptionist for tips on the recipe? You know what I mean? Like, they're not trying to do the same things. In a workplace, I mean, I don't want to say everyone's trying to do the same thing, because obviously there's tiers in like companies and whatever. But as a grand generalism, the company is trying to do something, one thing. Everyone who's working there is helping accomplish that one thing, right? What happens when you're in a group where you're not trying to accomplish what everyone else is trying to accomplish? That's kind of what I was getting at with being alone, to be exceptional at the thing that you care about, that maybe not everyone around you necessarily cares about.
I guess what you were saying was more like you having different goals from your friends, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying, it kind of sucks being alone sometimes. Maybe I don't mean like physically alone, but maybe alone in the way that I see XYZ, alone in the way that in what I think that, I mean, I'm not saying I'm right on everything. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but alone in the way that I may have to do XYZ in order to accomplish what I want to do. And no, like the people around me may not have to do that. So I'm doing it alone because I want to accomplish that thing.
I think example in myself, talk about myself again.
It's fine.
I make these reels because I have my personal goals, you know. But nobody else is gonna do that because that's not their personal goal. But if I want to do this and be good at it, then I kind of have to do it alone.
Yeah. Or like, let's say all your friends go to school to be engineers and you want to be a nurse. In that group of people, you have to do that alone, or you're just not going to be a nurse, right? Like you have to adjust your methods for your goals.
Yeah.
I hope that kind of clears things up about what I was talking about. I think it does.
We'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Thanks for the comment, though. Like, I do appreciate the input.
Amanda-ML9WI says, sometimes it's hard to stay on the right path. Also, I have accepted that I won't ever make enough money to buy a house, so dreaming about it is the only way I'll ever have one. I forgot what video that was from, but I think if you think about it like that, you will never, if you have that mindset, like the mindset of limited beliefs, I don't think you'll ever be able to. I don't know. I think maybe I'm just different, but the way I think about it is anything is possible, and you won't really know unless you try, I guess.
What if they are trying?
But I think that mental block kind of stops them from getting there. I don't know how to describe it like properly. But I think a lot of the times people aren't able to achieve things because they think they can't do it. Let's say like make $1 million. I think a lot of people are, they think that's like unrealistic. But I think if you're a little delusional with it, and you really believe that you can make $1 million, I think you can make $1 million. That's just how I think, though. So,
I think with this kind of thing, like, I've accepted I won't ever make enough money to buy a house, so dreaming about it is the only way I'll have one. Do you think you're the only person in your situation to, if you spend most of your time dreaming instead of like doing stuff, maybe you never will have one? I don't know your situation, but I think it's kind of tough. I have a hard time imagining or relating. Oh, what do I even say, bro? All right, that's tough, bro. That's tough. All right, next comment. That's tough. You keep that over there, bro.
Coming from Dan OC 1991. He says, kids trying to bloviate on wisdom. It's nonsense, boys. What does bloviate mean again?
Let me pull up the definition. Speak or write at length in a pompous, windy, and boastful manner, typically saying very little of substance. I think he's right.
Yeah.
I
Still
think,
learning.
yeah, still learning.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff I think that we talk about are things that are kind of on our mind or struggling with. I talk about these things because I want to get better at them. You taught me a new word today, Dan. Thank you.
Shout out Dan.
I'll try and be better. Thanks.
Shout out Dan OC.
Shout out Dan OC.
JA-UHM says, being an exception is a long game. If you only compare yourself to others, you're chasing a moving target that eventually steals the joy of your hard work. The real way is when you start competing against your past self, using that gap to feel gratitude for how far you've come. External comparison tells you if you're good, but internal comparisons is what actually makes you great without losing your mind. Use the world to see what's possible, but use your own progress to stay driven. I think I agree with that.
I agree as well. This is good. I think I do struggle with comparing myself to others. Yeah. I don't know what else there is to say. Like I do struggle with that, trying to get better at that, trying to be more aware of when I'm kind of punishing myself for expectations that are kind of unrealistic. But I don't know. Do you have anything to say?
I think I'm more on the. I think I used to look at other people as like a comparison, but I think lately I've been more comparing to what I've already done, and like being proud of how far I've gone.
I assume this is talking about when we were at Good Life. I was saying that the nature of being exceptional is comparison to others. And yeah, I was pretty much boiling it down to that. Yeah, I think I agree with Ja. If you can only compare yourself to others, you're definitely chasing a moving target. I think the way that you reach being an exception is by comparing yourself to yourself, and getting better, kind of gradually that way.
But I think also looking at other people.
You still, like, being an exception is still relative to others, right? But I was definitely reduced. I was being reductive and not I was not acknowledging that part of it, or I guess I was pretty blind to it. I was only talking about comparison. But I think you're right. It's definitely, if you can enjoy the journey, then the destination is inevitable. Yeah.
And that's some TikTok comments.
Sure.
Dark Power 666 says, I learned a new trick. If I thought about something, I just do it. It's hard, but if you use it on 4 or 5 things and told yourself those are the exception, it works, and that's enough for me. I don't need to do everything that's good, just 5 things that'll make me happy.
Thank you, Dark Power.
Thanks.
I think you're right. I struggle with that. I agree. If you can focus on a few things at a time, I think it's very clear what your purpose and intent is when you're doing things to pursue those goals. The thing I struggle with is I usually often pick like 6 or 7 things. So I guess the struggle is being honest with myself about what I really want out of life and pursuing those and kind of ignoring the rest. But I agree. Think about less things, pursue what you want. What do you think?
I think I have a pretty manageable amount of things that I do to be happy and like pursue goals, I guess. Anyways, Awakening with Lauren says, quite aware. Sounds like there's a bit of perfectionist tendency here, underlying the guilt of not being able to achieve unreasonable expectations you set for yourself. Can you go after your goals without the expectation that one must achieve it, or else it means something about yourself? Because goals are always good, but it's the meaning you attach it to that matters more.
Yeah, a lot of these are kind of saying the same thing, or like addressing the same things. Yeah, definitely perfectionist tendency. And like recently I've realized that a lot of the things that I was being hard on myself for were things that I didn't actually care about, and I was just punishing myself for not taking the steps towards those things just for the sake of not kind of checking off that box. And I'm definitely working on trying to be more realistic and honest with myself about what I actually care about and where I should be spending my time. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's more targeted towards you.
I think so. I think a lot of these are.
Yeah. I think the meaning of the goal is important.
Like, why is the goal?
Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Like, what is the
Why does it
ultimate-
matter to you?
Yeah.
Does it matter to you?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these things didn't matter to me, and I just had them there because I don't even know. I don't
Like
know.
a false sense of productivity, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
That didn't really lead to anything.
Yeah.
Like, didn't lead to anything that was part of the bigger picture, I guess.
Yeah. In Atomic Habits, we kind of talked about this today, but I guess I didn't talk about this part. They talk about what's called the any benefit mindset. So where people pick things up because they benefit something that isn't necessarily helping them achieve their goals. And I think I had a bit of an any benefit mindset. So I was trying to achieve XYZ when XYZ wasn't actually what I cared about. It was just, it's good in some other context that isn't my context. And I think reevaluating is, the purpose of reevaluating here is to kind of acknowledge that and readjust.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pursue things that matter to me.
Sirhat Garan says, I became a lot more proactive with my life after stopping video games. I am now part of the committee of several clubs in my med school after being a no-life loser during undergrad, and I'm becoming more fit. I think video games are a terrible way to spend your youth, except during middle school / high school when you're chilling with the boys, because you could be building your future instead. But someday when I'm a doc and I'm hopefully married and with kids, question mark, I don't think I will want to do anything besides play video games, make money, take care of my family, and travel. Life will be so dope when I finish training and have like a decade of games to catch up on. But right now, if I play video games, I am measurably decreasing my future quality of life and earnings. I think if you think about it this way, you don't really, like, I don't know how you're thinking or what your situation is like, but it feels like there's no room for
Fun.
yeah. I feel like living like this it might lead to burnout.
What happens if you get in like a car crash tomorrow? Okay, that's morbid. Sorry. Okay, cut that out.
I don't know. I think different perspective. Maybe he enjoys.
If you enjoy, not doing that, and that's fine.
Yeah, to each their own.
But it sounds like you do like playing video games. But I think the point of contention here is that playing video games when you should be doing something else. That's kind of the main thing that I think you're trying to get at here. That I'm interpreting anyways. You say that in the future when I'm married with kids, I don't think I'll want to do anything besides play video games, among other things. Life will be so dope when I finish training and have a decade of games to catch up on. Bro, it sounds like you want to do those things. I don't think there's anything wrong with you like setting aside some time to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Don't let it inhibit your other responsibilities. Yeah. But I think there is definitely room to chill out sometimes.
I think life is meant to be lived sometimes instead of just, what would this be then? Like,
this is like kind of Sigma grind set.
Yeah. I think there needs to be some balance. If it's not like,
it's okay to do things because you want to do things.
Yeah.
If you don't want to play
extent.
video games, don't play video games. Obviously, with moderation. But I think it's hard to say that with anything, with any single thing, it's hard to say that you should never or always do this. There's too much nuance.
I don't know. For me, I just think it's okay to play once in a while. Because for me, I do all the stuff that I am also like building my future, but I also leave time to play like a game of League, and that's like kind of my.
That's decreasing your current quality of life. But anyway, sorry.
But it's like a. I don't know. I like playing the game sometimes, and it's like a time where I can kind of relax. You know, after I work the entire day, work on videos.
Yeah, I think it's important to have some fun time. Like, I'm pretty binary sometimes, and I keep talking about this because I guess this is all the same topic of conversation. I get kind of black and white about what's right and wrong, and I tend to cut out everything that I think is wrong, and that's not really sustainable because sometimes you just want to eat like a lot of sugar or something. Like it's all things in moderation. You don't have to cut everything out. You don't have to only do things that help you. Like you can chill out. There's room to chill out. I think humans need that. I think people need that. You can't always be on go mode. I'm gonna I have more thoughts on this. I just can't think of them right now. But that is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. Learning when it's okay to relax. And it sounds like you want to play some video games.
Yeah,
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Live a little, you know?
I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but it sounds like you want to play video games.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. But anyways, I think that's all the comments.
Yep.
I'm getting pretty tired.
Same.
And we got a bit of a drive, so.
Until next time.
Until next time. Thanks, guys.